Hey everybody, I'm Jack Reed of the Future Pastimes, and in this video I wanted to talk a little bit about where should the Fremen start the game. Now let's take a look at the Fremen themselves. First of all, on the faction sheet, it tells you that you're going to start with 10 forces, and they're distributed as you like between three territories: Siege Tabor, False Wall South, and False Wall West. And then the other 10 are going to be in your reserves here. And we have the southern hemisphere for the reserves. So we can put everybody out here if we want to. And this planet is from the third expansion, Ikaz Mortani, which has the homeworlds. I just like to use those tokens for reserves. Now, our three locations are here: Siege Tabor, which is one of the 5 strongholds. And then we've got False Wall West, which is 2 territories away from Habanya Siege here. And we've got False Wall South, which is right next door to Tuix Siege. Now there's 10 forces, and if you're playing advanced, you can have some or all, any number of you want, of your 3 Fedaykin. But where to start? Now let's take a look at a couple of things. First of all, you'll notice that here in Tabletop Simulator, the map has got this yellow line. You won't find this in the normal edition, something that I expect will probably show up in whatever map is in the Kwisatz Haderach edition, at least if they listen to all of our requests and demands. This line represents where the Fremen can ship using their shipment action. Now remember, they do not ship onto the surface of the planet like the other factions. The other factions can pay the guild or the bank if either the guild is not in play or if they are the guild. They can land in any territory, straight into a stronghold, into any desert territory where there's spice, the rock, the polar sink. They can't ship into a sector under storm. And if it is a stronghold, only 2 factions can be in a stronghold, barring a few unique exceptions. So if it's already blocked, you couldn't then ship in there. But the Fremen, they bring their forces onto the board and into the Great Flat right here, or any territory that is within 2 territories of the Great Flat, and that has been conveniently marked here in Tabletop Simulator. So Carthag is more than 2 territories from the Great Flat, but Simpo isn't, because from here you can go 1 Plastic Basin, 2 Simpo. Voila. Same thing, Plastic Basin gets you to Broken Land. You can go 1, 2 down to Cialgo West. You can go straight into False Wall West, where you have forces starting. You can start in the Sink. Can't start over here, though. That's on the other side of this yellow line. So that needs to be an important consideration when you're deciding where you're going to start. You can start on the other side of that line, but only in this territory. Now, there's a couple of reasons why you might want to have some of your forces out there. So let's say that you say, yeah, I'm going to bring 5 forces, and I'm going to start right here. And remember, False Wall South here, it's got 2 sectors, so you can be in either one, can't be in both. You got to pick which one you're going to be in, and that's where you're going to start. And so the reason you might want to start with some forces here, there's a couple of reasons actually. First of all, it's nice to be right next to a stronghold that you can get into. And 5 forces is pretty good. You might want to consider maybe having 1 more. 6 might be better. If you're playing advanced, it might also be good to say, you know what, one of those is going to be a Fedaykin. So it's 5 forces, but really it's the strength of 6, because this is a 2, and then you've got 4 more. And remember, the Fremen don't have to spice style. They're always counted at full strength in advanced. So if this were basic, this is just a normal guy with a star. It's like a art project. It has no value in basic. So yeah, it's nice to be able to say, yeah, I'm going to go in here with a strength of 6 or more or less, whatever, in order to try to win the game. That's the whole point. And so being able to position yourself to get into this stronghold is very good. And it's a reason why you might want to have some forces over here as well, because again, 1, 2. The Fremen have a 2 movement. That's their default. Everyone else's default is 1. And then anybody, including the Fremen, if they have forces in either Carthage or Arakeen, their movement is 3 with any of their forces. But we're right here. But speaking of 2 movement, having forces here is useful for a couple of other reasons, because within 2 moves we can get to this spice blow, we can get to that spice blow, that one, even this one. It's 1, 2. And these are all some of the biggest spice blows in the game. That's the biggest. 12 spice. That's pretty great. 10 spice over here, not too shabby. Even 8, pretty good. So yeah, they can get to a number of spice blows. That's 5 spice blows right there. They can even get to this one over here. Now we know we have the storm in the way, but let's say that the storm is over there. I want to go one more. It's over there. So yeah, 1, 2 gets you to that spice blow as well. So yeah, that's 6 spice blows that are close to this starting location. Now you can get to this one, from any of these other places more or less. But the fact that you can get there from here, that's pretty important. So yes, I tend to always have some of my forces here on False Wall South. And again, because it's hard to bolster them, I mean, you can always ship to Polar Sink and then move here to bolster those forces, but then those forces aren't doing anything. So I'd rather be able to ship forces to something useful on this side of the map, either one of these spice blows here, or into Tabor, or into False Wall West, where maybe I have some forces there, leaving these able to move to territories. So being able to get to some spice blows, or just go into the stronghold, that's hard for me to not recommend. So I almost always do this. Now, Tabor is interesting to have some forces start there, but you can always ship there. So I almost never bother putting any forces into Tabor. I think that the mix of factions in the game is always going to be an extra consideration. And you're talking about the basic 6 factions. You're going to have forces in Arakeen, you're going to have some in Carthage, you're going to have some here. There will probably be a Bene Gesserit sister there, or if you're playing advanced, she might start anywhere, and maybe down here. Even then, most of the time I still see them starting in here, or if one of these strongholds is empty, the Bene Gesserit will start there, just because they might be able to avoid fighting, and they can get that tax income, 2 spice, or 1 spice, just by already being there. So yeah, with the basic mix, stronghold blocking is not as big of a crisis, but a lot of these factions don't start on the board. The Ixians do, and they have their own place. And these guys start, they start with 6 forces in the basin. They start with 6 forces anywhere where no one else is, and so that may be a consideration as well. But again, because I can ship, I'm going to start with 10 forces in reserve, and if I want, I can ship all 10 of them right into Tabor, as long as it's not already blocked, or under storm. So that, I guess I can go into and take half losses. I'm not sure it's worth it, but it might be necessary. So because of that, I do tend to start with some of my forces on False Wall West. But if I'm going 5, and I'll be honest, I'm probably going 6. I'm probably going 5 of these guys and 1 of those guys. And then the other I'm going to do right down here. So 4 more. And maybe one of them will be a Fedaykin. I think it's generally a pretty good idea, because, again, all right, we've got a strength of 5 here, and that's not too shabby. So I like to be able to go right over to there if I need to. But again, we're also close to some spice blows. So let's move this over here. 2 movement, gets us to Habanya Erg, gets us to Wind Pass North, gets us to Cialgo North as well, gets us to Habanya Flat. We can go up to Great Flat even. So 1, 2. 1, 2 actually gets us to Haga Basin. So there's another one over there. So that's a good number. And that's really, I think, an important consideration for any of your forces, is how many spice blows can you get to? Now, even from Tabor, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, we can get to a lot of spice blows from here. But again, because I know I can ship right to there, and I can ship right to here as well. But I like to keep the pressure on, because this is going to be a stronghold that is going to be on everybody's radar to some degree. And then when they know that they got the Fremen right there breathing down their necks, they get a little bit nervous. Especially, everyone likes to say this is the Emperor's ancestral homeland. It's the place the Emperor's most likely to ship on turn one if they're not feeling especially aggressive, um, or if they're not going after spice or whatever. That's a good place for them to park a bunch of forces, and then they can work on their winning strategy or alliance strategy going forward. So this is a typical start for me. I'll have 4 forces, 4 tokens here, 6 tokens here. I tend to favor more on this side, again, just because it's harder to get over here. Because I might decide, if there's a spice blow, let's say there's a spice blow in Red Chasm, I'm not necessarily going to move everybody over there. And depending on the turn order, if I'm going late, if nobody's there, I might send everybody there. But if I'm getting into a fight, I might say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to send those 4, or maybe I'll do one of those things. So I've got the Fedaykin that I can bring in as well. Fight for that spice. The Fremen, they only need spice for treachery cards. And if they're in an alliance, they can use that spice to help their ally buy treachery cards or to help their ally to ship. So it is good for the Fremen to have spice. But I think it's equally important for them to deny other players from getting it. And that's why, as the Fremen, I like to aggressively go after the spice blows. If I go in early and if I go in with a lot, so let's say that there's a spice blow there, and I say, yeah, I'm going in with this much strength. A lot of other factions aren't necessarily as interested in taking it on, because they know I've got the 3 force revival, and yeah, this is 7 strength right here. So you're going to have to dial really big, or you're going to have to make sure that you've got the right weapon defense combination. Now, somebody who's got 1 or more, if you're the Harkonnen Fremen leaders as traders, you're like, well, this is a great opportunity. So yeah, you don't want to go willy-nilly or reckless. And, depending on the turn order, that's always a big thing too. That may determine where you want to be aggressive, and you might want to wait and see. If you see 2 factions already going after it, I see 2 factions going after a spice blow, a large spice blow especially, as a Fremen. I'm like, yeah, let me get in this. But again, depends on what your starting treachery card is. You're probably not going to be buying a treachery card on the first turn. You only have 3 spice. So if you've got a weapon or you've got a defense, it might be great to go into. Maybe you want to keep that secret. I'm not sure. But once Fremen do get spice, then, like I said, all they really need to spend it on is treachery cards. So you go after the spice, you get that spice blow. Yeah, you can probably afford 2, maybe even 3 cards with 12 spice, especially if you still have the 3 that you started with. So these are my thoughts. I tend to do this. Again, like I said, the mix of starting factions can influence that, depending on what's going on. What other variants we're using? Are we using stronghold cards? Are we using leader skills, tech tokens? Remember, the Fremen start with a tech token. And maybe they're not anxious to get into a battle right away if they don't think they can win it. And then, yeah, if I am playing with tech tokens, I might be tempted to do this and say, yeah, I'm going to hold on to this tech token, and I might try to go hunting for another one, because this is a lot of strength right here. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I could dial very high even without needing my leader, and that might get me another tech token. 2 tech tokens, suddenly you're getting some income. You're getting probably at least 2 spice, maybe as much as 4 spice in a turn, and then you're wondering who has the other one. So yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah, because I could full dial here just to guarantee that I win, which is not 100% guarantee, but pretty good. And then just say, yeah, I'm going to spend the next 2 turns getting forces out. That'll be 6 forces that I get out. But I've got those 2 tech tokens. That's another little bit of income there. So, like I said, lots of things can influence or alter how it plays out, but I do like to start with a decent amount, at least half of those starting forces, false wall south, and then I tend to prefer to go here. I don't like to split them up three ways, so I'm going to keep my 10 forces in two territories, maybe in just one. But if it is just one, it's probably going to be false wall south. So I like to be able to threaten this stronghold, but get to a lot of the really good spice blows. So there you have it. Feel free to chime in the comments with where you disagree or agree, or other considerations that I didn't raise here, including some specifics. You might say, well, when we've got the Ixians or the Tleilaxi in the game, or if a Chom is in the game, or whatever, somebody else is in the game. This is the strategy that I like to use. Definitely chime in with that sort of stuff. I'd love to hear it. That's it for this one, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.